Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is Saturday, April 27th, 2024. Lance Bratt here, and night one of the 2024 WWE Draft is now in the books. Unfortunately, did not get a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic out last night, talking about last night's SmackDown, which was night one of the draft. But on this Saturday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans, going to go over it just a little bit. Mainly the draft picks for the first night. Talk about each round of the picks for Raw and SmackDown, and they brought back the War Rooms, as they call them, for both Raw and SmackDown. Not as bad as they have been in previous years, which featured some former WWE superstars. At least didn't have that dancing robot that Fox used to use, or I don't know if they still use or not. I don't remember the last time I watched a football game, but they had a dancing robot at one time, and he was in the SmackDown, or the Fox draft room for SmackDown. But luckily, did not have that this year. But we did have Team 3D on hand to present picks for Raw and SmackDown. Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon Dudley were on SmackDown. So let's get right into it and talk about each of the draft picks from last night. First, we have SmackDown. Their first two picks going with Bianca Belair staying on SmackDown, and former NXT champion Carmelo Hayes going up to SmackDown from NXT. And then the Viper Randy Orton, Nia Jax, LA Knight. Yeah, the Bloodline gets picked, and they did try to make a big deal out of the Bloodline going into not getting drafted till the fourth round. And we also got an update from the wise man on the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and is that he took himself out of being eligible for the draft. And also there was a report earlier in the day that since Jimmy Uso is injured, he is not eligible for the draft either. So I believe for the Bloodline pick, they said Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Paul Heyman. Also, the phenomenal AJ Styles, which also on SmackDown last night, we had the contract signing for the Universal Championship match between him and Cody Rhodes at Backlash next Saturday. And the last pick for SmackDown, Andrade El Idolo. Now on to Raw. Their first two picks being main event Jey Uso and Seth freaking Rollins. Next up, for Raw, Braun Breaker, Liv Morgan, Ricochet, Sheamus, which maybe I'm wrong, but since he returned, has been on Raw already. I almost even forgot that he was on SmackDown prior to the injury. Also, the Alpha Academy and Kiana James staying on Raw. Also, there has been supplemental drafts after SmackDown has run off the air. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn been drafted to Raw. Cedric Alexander, who was squashed by Braun Breaker last night, and Ashanti the Adonis drafted to SmackDown. The 2024, I didn't go back in time, draft will continue this Monday on Raw, with different wrestlers eligible to be drafted. And overall, I would say it was an alright episode of SmackDown. Nothing real special, but it's normal with the draft episodes that wrestling isn't really the main attraction for those shows. It's mostly focused on the draft picks themselves. So, they're not really going to be wrestling heavy shows. Overall, not too bad. Also, another thing I wanted to mention real quick from SmackDown was more security camera footage in pro wrestling. First we had AEW with theirs, and now Santos Escobar has security camera footage of his own when he said he did not attack Dragon Lee. And we got the footage of the individual who actually attacked Dragon Lee, and it was Carlito. He's in the ring shocked. Then he attacks both Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio, then goes running through the crowd. So it looks like the breakup of the NWO could be, the LWO could be near. And that was last night, SmackDown Night 1 of the 2024 WWE Draft. As always, let me know in the comment section what you thought of the first night of the draft. Or if you just want to talk anything pro wrestling, you can. Tonight, we have another 3-hour lineup of AEW with Collision and Rampage. As of right now, I'm guessing it could be starting around 8:30, but mainly all the advertising just said after all the NBA coverage. So it could be sometime around 8:30 or maybe even later, depending on how late the game goes. We'll just have to wait and see. That's all for this Saturday morning episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great Saturday. Hope you enjoy Collision and Rampage tonight. And then Monday, the second night of the 2024 draft. But until then, have a great pro wrestling day.